So let's talk about the Private Life of Anne Boleyn tour.
Yes.
So it's from the 29th of June to the 4th of July. Yeah.
Oh, that's all. I mean, that's always just like perfect prime English summer weather. England in the summer is absolutely stunning. Really, really beautiful.
We're basing ourselves in two places. So for the first 4 nights, we're at Tewkesbury Park, the hotel in Tewkesbury, which you've not stayed at yet, but you're going to love.
Very excited.
It's situated on the top of a hill. And they've designed the whole hotel around the fact that you're on the top of this hill with views out one side to the Malvern Hills, another side over to Winchcombe, over Tewkesbury Abbey if you look one direction. So the restaurants, all the rooms, everywhere has a view.
Oh, fantastic. I suppose one of the things I'm most looking forward to with this tour is that we are basically framing it around Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn's tour of that region in 1535. We're walking in their footsteps. And I think when you look out, obviously Tewkesbury Abbey was probably in slightly better health in 1535 until Henry had other ideas. But I think when you get a chance to have a really gorgeous view like that, you get a moment of seeing the England that they saw, which I think is very special.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you do. The countryside as was. I mean, even where you've got the roads, they're going to be very similar.
Yeah.
Path to where they would have
to their roads. Yeah, because pretty much most modern roads, particularly in the countryside, follow the ancient older routes.
And you're doing a few talks.
Yes. So really one of the things that we're trying to do with this tour is to give people a sense of Anne Boleyn as both queen and private woman, and to take this journey with her. So what I'm going to be doing is for the 3 nights that we're at, the first 3 nights we're at Tewkesbury, and the first 3 nights of the tour, I'll be doing a beginning, middle, and end of talks to guide us through Anne Boleyn's experience. So the first night when you get there, I'll be talking about her ancestry, her youth, who she was, and I'm hopefully sharing a few quite surprising details about her grandmother and where the Boleyns got their money. It's not, I think, what people necessarily think it is. Second night, I'm going to be talking really about 1533, 34, 35. So just the build up to the tour, what's going on in Anne's marriage, what's happening in her private life. And the third talk for our guests will be me talking about how this 1535 tour really, for some people, looks like the beginning of the end, the unraveling of Anne's life. Is this really the last time in her life when she is happy or thinks that she is? And so we'll have talks about that. And then also the great thing is that all the guests get to sit and talk to you and to me afterwards. And I think for a lot of history fans, the real joy of this is that you can talk with a historian, you can talk with other people who are interested in all the Tudor things that your friends and family at home just don't care about. So you have a chance to completely geek out and enjoy it. And that's certainly one of the things I enjoy the most, is talking to people, hearing their theories and answering questions.
We should make a point of that, actually. There's 20 people maximum on the tours, so we really do get to chat a lot, and there's no eye rolling when you mention Anne Boleyn or any of the Tudors, which you get off your friends and family probably. We're like, yes, let's
it's always a shock for me after these tours to come back. I'm like, oh, we're not just allowed to talk about the Tudors for 24 hours a day. Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, at the max of 20, I think you always get it's a good group of people. And it's also people brought together with a shared passion. Plus, I think, this is obviously your remit, so I can compliment you. You can't compliment yourself, but they are really well organized and they flow so smoothly. I'm really excited to see Tewkesbury. I also can't wait to get back to stay at Hever. I think staying at Hever Castle, the Boleyn family home, is really, really special.
Yes. So we spend our final night at Hever. We'll go backwards, but while we're at Hever, as we're onto it, we're going to do the hidden Hever tour. So have a look around. So you actually get into the fabric of the castle. That this is after hours as well, after everyone's gone home. So
it's very atmospheric, isn't it? It's very kind of, there's absolutely.
Yeah. And more what, again, of the castle that Anne would recognise.
Yeah.
And then we get to eat in the Great Hall,
which never loses its. And we've done. I mean, obviously, we've been lucky enough to do these a few times. It never eating in the Great Hall at Hever Castle never loses its potency or its effect, because first of all, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful room, but also there is so much history there, and you're surrounded by people who really want to be there, so it means a lot, and it's atmospheric and it's extraordinary, and the food's great, which always helps.
And I can vouch for the food at Tewkesbury Park as well. They really, you'll be looking forward to that. You'll enjoy that. But we have an added extra as well when we're at Hever. J. Britton, the Tudor Songbook, will be singing for us in the Great Hall.
So for those who haven't had the opportunity to hear Jay's work yet, I think the first time I heard her actually was on one of the earlier tours we've done together, Philippa. Jay performs in amazing Tudor costume. It's really so detailed, but she performs Tudor music as the Tudors would have heard when they were, the upper class Tudors would have heard when they were eating. And one of the really special things that she did, I think we were doing a tour in May sometime, but she sang a hymn or I suppose maybe say, no, just a song. I probably not doesn't class as a hymn, but a hymn that's allegedly written by Anne Boleyn about death, and she sang it in the courtyard at Hever Castle, and it was incredibly moving. So between eating in the Great Hall at Hever and hearing Jay sing, I imagine it probably will feel like 1535. So and her voice, people don't need me to tell them that, but her voice is really beautiful.
It is stunning. And of course she's, like you say about the costume, and she has accompaniment. She's very keen on it being as accurate, historically accurate as possible.
Yeah, and she has a full repertoire. She has like the 1530s, 1590s. They're all they're all so rich and detailed, and I mean, it's just a visual and is it auditory feast.
Yeah. And then we'll be eating as well. So it's just...
So it actually will be a feast, yeah. I stumbled right into a pun and I don't regret it. Go ahead.
Sorry, so let's go back. So while we're at Tewkesbury, so we're basing ourselves at Tewkesbury because we get to go to some stunning places, and we are actually following part of the route that Henry and Anne took during this 15th. I mean, the whole 1535 progress was incredibly long, but we're doing part of it. So we get to go to Sudeley Castle, which is always somewhere people absolutely just they love it. They
well, it has that gorgeous Catherine Parr grave there, doesn't it? It has a lot of history, and I think what's interesting is obviously this is an Anne Boleyn centered tour, but I think a lot of Tudor fans have a soft spot for Catherine Parr and are very interested in her. And so seeing where she died and where she's buried is special.
Yeah. We'll be going to nearby Hales Abbey. It's of interest because whilst Henry and Anne are doing the interesting, happy, just having a nice time, we've got Cromwell's men going to places like Hales Abbey while they're to start these investigations that would eventually lead to...
I mean, do you know what's interesting? I sometimes think of those world tours as lipstick and a Rottweiler. And what I mean by that, and they did it with Henrietta and Catherine Howard. They would go and there would be all the pomp and panoply and glitter of the royal tour, but there would be heavy politics underneath it. And I think, I mean, I'm happy to, I'll do the same with Gloucester Cathedral and with Hales Abbey. I can do a little impromptu for anyone who wants it. Here we are, tour guide from the past. I'm very happy to do that because Hales was a really important point in the Reformation. The holy blood of Hales was a very, very famous relic that was allegedly the caught blood of Christ from the crucifixion. And it was very, very beloved by religious traditionalists. And it was very controversial and opposed by evangelicals or reformers. And so that moment where Cromwell sends the investigators in to go after pretty much one of the most famous Catholic relics in England is a very definitive turning point in the Reformation. And also, I think, I don't know what you think about this, I always think there's something quite moving about walking around the ruins of the monasteries. There's something about sort of the skeleton left of medieval religion. It's quite emotional.
It is. And Hales is is particularly picturesque because it's so overgrown, and yet you've got the footprint. That you can still walk around and see. And following on from Hales, we'll be going to Tewkesbury, which of course remained as a parish church. In fact, that's how that survived. But again, you can see the outline of the other monastic buildings that had to go when that was closed. But we'll be going inside Tewkesbury Abbey, which, I mean, that's got other history, of course, as well, which is literally emblazoned on the ceiling, because you have the sons in splendour of Edward the Fourth in there, which he had put there after the Battle of Tewkesbury, which is literally just outside of where we'll be.
Wow. I mean, so for a Yorkist, this is if you're someone who leans Yorkist, this is the spot for you. The Lancastrians can have a drink.
Yeah, there's plenty of cafes as well. So then you've already mentioned the following day we'll be going to Gloucester Cathedral.
Yes. I've never been to Gloucester Cathedral.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this will be a first time for me too, and it's one of the places I want to go the most because of the graves that are there, and also I love a cathedral. Sign me up for any and all.
The cloisters just for themselves.
I've heard do you know what? That's funny. One of the things that when I went to Lincoln Cathedral, the cloisters, everyone said go and see them, and they are, and it's one of those things that I think, when you see the cloister still intact or still functioning, it gives you an idea of the sheer economic and social scale that the cathedrals had in their glory days, because it does feel like a complex as opposed to one singular building.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So that's beautiful, and we will probably have we should have time. I want to take people out to see the Bishop Hooper memorial that's there as well, and also if we can walk around to there's just the frontage of the abbot's lodgings left with an oriel window, which is, it's always presumed that when Anne and Henry are staying, that it's the abbot's lodgings that they are
they would be almost certainly, even after the Reformation, or the dissolution, sorry, I should say. What will often happen is that the abbot's old lodgings will be preserved. So when they go up to St. Mary's Abbey in York, which is Henry and his fifth wife, Queen Catherine, they stayed at the defunct abbot's accommodation. So that actually continues even after the dissolution. It's by far and away, if they're staying in the vicinity of somewhere which is dominated by a monastery, it's pretty much the only logical place to put them.
So we can go around and have a look, possibly even the window that Anne looked out from, which would be rather fabulous. And then afternoon tea at Thornbury Castle, which would have been ginormous had the Duke of Buckingham been able to finish it.
Yeah, it would have. The Duke of Buckingham was not what we would call a minimalist. He used to turn up to court. This is for big events, I think, like the Field of Cloth of Gold and things like that. But he used to turn up wearing sort of the combined annual income of three of his rivals as an outfit to show off his staggering fabulous wealth. Yeah, I mean, the Duke of Buckingham was one of those figures that really fell so early on with Henry VIII that you forget that he was a massively influential and wealthy man. And I think to see that for people will be exciting. It gives you an idea. It's a bit like Christ Church College at Oxford, which is colossal, but apparently had Wolsey survived, he wanted that to be the first of 4 courtyards. So it's only 25% of what he wanted. So yeah. Dreams of broken greatness is sort of the theme running through most of the Tudor aristocracy and architecture.
Yes, and we'll definitely see that at Thornbury. We'll also get to see the room in which Anne slept when we're there as well. Yeah. So that will be really lovely. And then the following day, we're at Berkeley Castle, which again has a massive rich history, and it continues to have
Edward II stuff. Yeah, of course.
With Edward II.
Yeah.
And actually, Anne's daughter Elizabeth I visited there on a number of occasions. I think not necessarily always welcome, but anyway, she liked to go there. But yeah, and Anne and Henry there. And if anyone wants to, they get the chance on this day to dress in Tudor costume, which
I should have done this before. I mean, it's really, I don't think I have, but everyone who does it loves it. You looked, I mean, it was a very fantastic experience to be sitting having a diet coke with you dressed head to toe in red velvet and gold, the French hood. That was a special time. I mean, it's really, I mean, some people like to look at it, some people like to wear it, but it is really fantastic to see. And it's also what you don't realize is how detailed the clothes were for them to put on. Like you need you realize why they had so many servants, and also why they were so tired all the time. It's really beautiful stuff.
So that will be a fabulous day, and then people have time to relax that evening. We've got access to a beautiful spa while we're at the hotel, so a decent sized pool and a sauna and a steam room, and outside jacuzzi, which is amazing. Exciting. So
very exciting.
We'll be making use of that as well. And then the following day we're to Hever, which we've already talked about. So I'm really excited for this
I'm really, really excited. I think this gives an idea of an Anne Boleyn. I think so many people are interested in her in who she was in private. And I think this gives you a chance to see the Anne both in her childhood home and in her tour. That's just slightly different from the Anne who we see in the Tower of London. So that, I think, is what's really exciting about this. It's a very, very personal look at her.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, roll on the 29th of June.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And if you want to book, of course, go to www.britishhistorytours.com and you can get all the information about how to book.